In our last video, we talked about the basics of creating an app. And so, in the same theme here, we want to go a little bit more into expanding on that and look at some of the things we can do in the design section and some of the other sections to improve the look of the app or to customize it to meet the needs of the client. And so, one of the more important things some people might want to be able to do is rename the app. So, let's start by renaming the app, and we'll go into the application tab here under application name. It's as simple as just changing it here. We can change this to Test App 101, capitalize that, and we'll save it. And we've just changed the name of our app. And we can see it up here reflected in the top left, and we can see it here. We can obviously change the application icon that'll show up when you install the app, and we can change the navigational buttons that'll appear when people navigate through the screens inside the app. So these are some of the other things you can do. Of course, this is the unified splash screen, and I'm going to show you another place where we adjust a similar screen. But this is the splash screen that shows when the published app will load on the phone. But if we go back to the design tab, we've got a similar screen. Both are 2732 by 2732 maximum dimension in pixels. And this is our background screen here. And right now they're showing exactly the same. And of course, you could keep them the same. You can make them different. The maximum or recommended size is 2732 by 2732. It can be as low as 1500 by 1500 or something in between. But you're looking for a square image, right? So we're talking about the dimensions from the outer corners of this. And this safe zone overlay, we can change the way that looks. So depending on our colors, we can see exactly what we're looking at. In the safe and portrait hide overlay, we have some options here. So if we hide overlay, you don't see anything but the big square. Safe and portrait is basically just the portrait view, which some people would look at this section here, the main section that shows up on a normal mobile phone held in a normal orientation. You can lock that and just have that particular view and not have to worry about what it might look in another. And then if you wanted to change the app and force it where it can't rotate, that might be all you need to do. If you want to see what safe and landscape would look like, you have this. And then in safe and portrait and landscape, it's going to be a smaller square in the middle. The point of this being, it's a unified image in that you can use one image for your background. It'll resize to look okay in the screen, but the only way to know for sure what's going to show on every single screen, if you pick this option at the bottom, what you see in this square is about the extent of what would be seen. So if somebody turns the app on its or the phone on its side and looks at it in wide orientation rather than tall, or they put it on a tablet or they look at it on a desktop, this section here is the only section you can rest assured would be visible. So if it's important that it's visible at every single orientation on every single device, then this is your target area. So when you're making images, you can have stuff that extends beyond that. Just be aware, though, that the most important things that you want to be seen need to be in this square. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you, just to make that clearer, you've got the ability to download a template. And the template is either a PSD or PNG, and you can use it depending on what kind of tools you're using for making your background images. Now, normally I just leave this in safe and portrait, and I shoot for this being my key area. But again, it depends on the purpose of the app. But if you want to change it, it's as simple as clicking this and downloading your image. But if you download one of these templates here, then you can see how it lays out. And it basically gives you an outline of what each of these things look like. So I'm going to switch over and show you a Canva screen where I've already downloaded that, and we can take a look at how that plays out if you're using Canva. Okay, so here we are in Canva, and the idea here, we've downloaded and we've pulled into Canva this particular image. And if you can take a look here at the top, I have created a file and used a custom size of 2732 by 2732. And then I've pulled in the template so that we can see how that's going to fall with regard to using some sort of a background image. And so again, here's your landscape safe here in the center, landscape and portrait safe. And you can see the other different dimensions that we discussed in the actual app builder. Now, if I scroll up, you can see where I've just done some testing with the image. And if I wanted my logo to always be visible inside of any sized screen, then I would put it where it doesn't exceed the top position here and doesn't exceed the outer positions of this template. And then if I put a background behind it, this way I have all of my bases covered. If I use any size screen, or if somebody happens, if I don't want to lock the app's ability to be tilted and reorient the screen, I can make sure that there's some kind of a background so it's not weird looking. But I can make sure that my logo and any other important information that I want is in this section here, so that no matter what I do, I will always have some information showing that I want in the background image on the home screen of the app. And then make sure that my 27 by 32 or by 2732 or 1500 by 1500, whatever you choose, extends beyond, so that no matter what size screen you have, there's going to be some kind of a background showing. So it could be a pattern, but if it's words and information that you think is important for your clients or your businesses clients to see, then you want to make sure that you include it within the boundaries of however you plan for this app to be used. And so that's really the main point that I want to make with regard to using the unified images. But in the end, this is actually easier to use unified images than to have to create a separate image for every single screen size that could be used with your app. And so it's just important to understand how to use this so that it makes sense when you start to drop images in, because sometimes they don't end up looking the way you intend. And if you use this template, at least to get an idea and make a couple of images, you can even leave the lines and play around with it, so you get a feel for how it looks. It's very easy to change, but this lets you get a feel for why it's laying out the way it does. Hope that's helpful. And now we'll look at some of the other features that we can use to make the design the way we need it to look, whether it's a brand new design or something we're trying to match for our clients to match their branding. Okay, so now what we've done is we've clicked on change your homepage, and we've uploaded this image that we had downloaded from Canva. And so as you can see here, when you go into the upload, it offers you a complete picture of this size, and you could move it around depending on what your image was. But in this case, we've used the template, so we want it just how it came in. And now I've already saved it, and so I'm going to refresh the screen here. And as soon as I refresh that, you'll see how that lays out on your app screen. And now you can get an idea here how this looks. And you can see now on the app where that exactly will lay out. And I left the lines in place on purpose just so that you can get a view of this, okay? So that was the purpose of this. Obviously, you wouldn't leave the line in your images. It's more to give you an understanding of where things are going to lay out until you get comfortable using this this method. And so let's go down into our device preview that we looked at in a previous video. And let's take a look here at how the device can show us, if we rotate the screen, how that would look. Notice that because it's landscape safe and portrait safe, you can still see the logo because of where we have it placed. If we put it on a laptop, we can see how that would look on a laptop. If we put that on let's pick an iPad, in a normal view, you can see, but now your portrait extended is way up here. And so, if you had a larger image and with some information that looks good above the logo, you'd be able to see the stuff between the top of the logo and this portrait extended area if it was on a tablet, but not on a phone. And then if we rotate the screen sideways, you can see how that's going to lay out. And so the idea here was really to leave the template lines in place. So as we move this around, you can get a feel for how that's going to look on your device. And so obviously, again, you're not going to leave this template in place, but this is more or less as you're doing your testing and trying to get your alignment, this is going to give you the guides that you need to get this right. And then as you get comfortable with this, you'll know where you need to place the items, or you can always overlay the template when in question, or if you're having a struggle to get everything lined up the way you want. So hopefully that's a helpful way to get you through the main part of the design, because one of the most important images in your app is going to be your home screen. And this is the best way that I know is to use the template. And once you're comfortable, you'll be able to align any app background that you need to do for any of your clients to get it to look the best it can be for whatever screen size or orientation they plan to use for this app or for any app. This is by far the easiest way to use a home screen image using the template, using that for your alignment. And then once you're comfortable with your alignments, you can go back and pretty much use this template with any image that you might have down the road. If you have any struggle at all trying to get alignment within your app on the various devices that your client might use. So now back in the application page where we've got our icon, of course, we can upload an icon here. But along the same lines of the background image for the app, the splash screen image is the exact same size. So in most cases, you're going to see the background image used probably with people holding the phone in a normal position. And I mentioned in our first tutorial on creating an app from scratch that Google is making some changes to where pretty soon the latest version, as you're creating an app to be functional on the latest version of Android, they're changing the requirements. And so you're not going to be using a regular image. You're going to be using more of just a color, probably a branded color. And then maybe the icon, maybe the same icon you use up here for your App Store icon, you could put right in the center of the screen, in which case, if you did that in your safe and portrait and landscape, as we showed with the template, you could make that icon basically be right here in the center, and that's all you do. And while you wouldn't have to do that on Apple, if you want to keep everything the same, then you certainly could. But the point is, everything that we did in the previous section to create our background image for the app, we could do the same here for our splash screen. Just know that some changes are coming down the road for Android, in which case, as you publish new apps, you may want to reconsider using the same image. But the same method applies still for creating it and having everything look the way you want it to look. So that's all we're going to talk about with regard to background images. All of the other images that you'll place in the app in the feature section, those features are going to be defined usually as to what kind of an image they are. And of course, they're going to be either square images, or they're going to be kind of a landscape image, where that's a little bit shorter than it is wide. And you'll be able to use those much more easily, because those are just standard images that you'll be able to size to fit into your app. So I really wanted to spend most of the time here because, again, this is one of the more important areas of the app. All of the other images that we'll be using will be much more straightforward. So I think that covers both the splash and the background as much as need to be covered. If you have questions, obviously reach out to us, and we're happy to help you work out any design complications you might have, or if you have any struggles with that. But that's pretty much it for this video, and we'll see you in the next one.